I was born in Malmö, Sweden, and it's a very small town. It's right on the ocean, which has, for the rest of my life, made it very important wherever I live to be near a big body of water. The amazing thing is now that this town has grown into being very much of an immigrant city, have enormous racial problems, which, of course, when I grew up, there was nothing of that. But sometimes today, they call Malmö Sweden's Chicago. My father passed away when he was 55, and that colored a lot of our lives, I think. That we did not have a father that we really, really adored. My mother, had never worked before, but she started working at that time. My father was a banker, and my mother was then employed by the bank. Well, that's really a crazy situation. I have a master's degree in social work, and I worked with drug addicts for many years in my early career. And then I got involved in the Swedish community here in Chicago. And I started the Swedish Women's Organization. And then together with another person, we got the Swedish American Museum going. My husband will say it's our fourth child. When the Swedish government decided to not have a career consulate here in Chicago, they asked me to take the position of first honorary consul and then honorary consul general. You know, the North Park, Swedish Cove, and then the Andersonville area, which have been the two major areas of Swedishness, if you can use that word. And of course, North Park University is still keeping the Swedish traditions alive. The two areas had very different focus, and the Swedes who lived in Andersonville, they thought the people who lived in Anderson were just terrible. They were drunkards, they sat at the bars, and the people in Andersonville, they couldn't understand why anybody would want to be around in the North Park area where there were no bars. And I would like to say that it's the Swedish American Museum located in Andersonville that has brought the two groups together. Well, I was at a postgraduate scholarship at the University of Chicago when I came here and met my husband. And we moved to London for a couple of years, and then we moved to Brussels for a couple of years. We lived in Malibu for a few years, and then finally moved to Chicago. And here we had 3 children. If Spanish was my native tongue, I would have spoken Spanish to them. Swedish is not a terribly useful language. So I have instead concentrated on exposing the grandchildren to Swedish traditions and holidays. And they take that in like, a sponge. They love it. I retired as the founding executive director of the Swedish American Museum 6 years ago. And since then, I have been involved with a number of Swedish groups here in Chicago. And when I really got involved with the Chicago Cultural Alliance, in a way it was a great relief to be with people of other ethnic backgrounds and not just Swedes. I really thrived on that. And to see how immigrants from different countries, how they have developed in the city, it's just so fascinating. I hate to say this myself, but I have had a finger into most everything Swedish in Chicago for the last 25 years. And that might be positive or negative. Maybe the award tells me that it is positive. Once you get one award, it seems like there are other ones coming. And of course, the greatest one I got was a medal from the King of Sweden at the palace in Stockholm a few years ago. So I like to think that I have made a difference in the Swedish community.